Hey everybody, it's Jeff, and in this video, I want to talk about grading Jefferson Nickels, specifically determining full steps on war nickels. And I'm going to have a whole series on grading Jefferson Nickels because this is essentially my specialty area. I look back over the last 3 years, and I have personally sent into PCGS 182 different Jefferson Nickels, all hand selected, and I've had various success and not success, and I've learned an incredible amount. And one thing I'd say more than any other series is the opportunity to flip Jefferson Nickels for a profit. And I'm going to talk about that. So let's jump right into it. So when I'm talking about flipping for a profit, why learn full steps? I mean, this is so vital. And the one thing I would say is full steps might sound objective. It might sound like it's rigid, it's black and white, but it is not. I have sent the same coin in 3 different times. The first 2, it did not get full steps, and the third time it did. Whether or not you want to consider that a conspiracy theory or the fact that the graders are having a good day or a bad day, or you catch them at a good time or a bad time. I'll have another video down the road on submission strategies. I honestly don't know if it's random or if my strategies work, but a quick snapshot, what I like to do is I actually lead with my best quality coins, because in my opinion, if you gain the respect of the grader right away, he's going to be more inclined, I think at least, to edge your grades a little better. And one thing with Jefferson Nickels is the difference of full step to non-full step is dramatic in value. And take, for example, this 1945p and a Mint State 67 holder has a gray sheet value of $145. But if those are full steps instead, the gray sheet value is $2,250. So you think about it, there's at least, in my opinion, just a wild guess, 30 different graded Jefferson Nickels and Mint State 67 slabs that probably could get full step. They were just that close that the subjective grader decided not to give it. And they tend to be very difficult because they see the price spread. So they're going to be tough. But I think if you get really good at grading full steps, you could really flip Jefferson Nickels for a profit, in my opinion. So let's really dig into what makes up full steps. The one thing that's very important to understand is this concept called market grading when it comes to all series, but Jefferson Nickels especially. There's such a wide range of strike quality, and the key is knowing that graders will grade poor quality strike with a little more ease. In other words, if it's a 45S or a 45P, as you could see as the worst strike quality, they'll actually have a little more leniency and a couple hit marks still allowing full step. Whereas a 43D, which has the highest quality strike, the easiest to get full steps, if there's even the tiniest nick, they're not going to give it full step. So in my opinion, the key years to focus on when it comes to flipping these is the bottom 4 or 5. Those are the ones that have the biggest spread from a non-full step to a full step. And how did I come up with market grading? And this is really easy to determine. You simply look at the current pop report. PCGS population, a Mint State 67 full step or better. You could see how many have qualified as 67 full step or better. That's really the sweet spot grade. The one thing I would recommend, though, when it comes to flipping Jefferson Nickels, it's much easier to buy already graded Mint State 67 holders that don't have the full step and crack those out and send them in than buying raw Jefferson Nickels, because the reality is if the Jefferson Nickel is really nice, they've probably already sent it in. So I've found much less success buying it raw. But you can see the crazy spread from the 43D, where there's 600 graded 67 full step or better, down to the 45 Philly, which is 29. And you think about, how does this compare to price? This is the gray sheet value for a 67 full step. You can see in the 43D, it's just $120 to get a 67 full step, whereas the 45 Philly is the highest price at $2,250. A lot of people actually think of the 45 San Francisco as the key date within the series, in terms of full step, but actually the 45 Philly is the sleeper, and the price is reflecting that. And I wanted to point out too, the 44 Philly is another semi-sleeper in a way, where people don't give it enough respect. There's just not that many, and it tends to be underpriced. I think that has the most room for upside. So the next few slides I took right off of PCGS YouTube video, specifically on Jefferson Nickel full steps. And this is important. This is actually a misconception by a lot of people that they think full steps need to have 6 full steps. But the reality is, Jefferson Nickels, as you can see here, it just needs to be 5 of the 6 steps. So that's an important distinction. This is from PCGS YouTube video. This is what they stated. And then taking that one step further, any interruption or disturbance of these steps or lines, whether caused by contact, a plan chip problem, or a weak strike, which is the most common, will result in the coins not being designated full step. Now, this sounds black and white, any interruption or disturbance. But as I mentioned on market grading, it's not necessarily black and white. Now, of course, if you have a bunch of hits, you'll never get it full step. The key is finding those coins that are so close to full step, then you just have to catch a grader on a good day. So I want to use their 4 examples to start, and then we'll go through some other actual examples of pictures here. So this one is well short. This isn't even close. As you can see, all the steps are just blending together. That's the key. And then it has that hit mark right through the center. This isn't even close. So let's go to the just short of full steps. And as you can see here, and the key is this top step counts as 1. So that's 1 step. That's good. You notice there's not a single hit mark in between here. You could see the complete line. Here's the second step. You could see the complete line up to this point. And then we have this big hit mark. That's way too big. There's no way you would ever get this coin to be a full step. That's just too obvious of a hit mark. Those ones that are right on the line are the ones that have a single hit mark through 2 steps, and it's right on the border, and maybe one grader is willing to give it to you. But the key is this top step counts. So even though this is a blended in, the reason why it's just short is this hit mark here. And then just passing full step. So I pointed the arrow. This top part counts. So that's 1, here's 2, here's 3, 4, and then this bottom blotchy one does count as 5. So even though the 5th and 6th step have blended together, the fact is you can clearly see the separated lines in between the steps. And I've learned when it comes to grading full steps, it's actually more important to look at that line in between the steps to see if you can almost cut all the way through without any interruptions. And if you could do that, then you probably have a full step without any hits at all. And if you could see 1, 2, 3, 4 clear lines, then you have 5 steps because it includes this top step. And then, of course, the best one of all is this a 6 full step where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including that top step. Now, NGC actually separates, they designate as 5 or 6. And in my experience, honestly, I don't think the market really cares unless it's a supremely difficult year in mint mark, like in the 50s and 60s, where if it had 6 step, that would be a true 1 of 1. Most of those 50s and 60s only have 5 full steps if you're lucky. So that separation of designation in the marketplace, I've learned it doesn't really matter. All right, so now I'm going to go through about 4 slides here, and you got to guess if this is full step or not. Now, it's important to know, because of market grading, this 43 Denver is one of the high quality strikes, so they're much less lenient on this. So take a quick look at it in your mind, guess if you think this is full step or not full step. All right, in this example, it's not. And it might be fairly easy because right away you see a blended blotch right in between the 5th and 6th step. That's a hit right there. Now you don't see any, and I guess you got a hit mark right here. That'd draw the eye of the grader, but what really does it in is this blended 2 steps as well. You just can't have that because you notice this line here, it's going through, it probably stops right there, and then it's going through, and then it just clearly doesn't go through right there. So this is definitely a not full stepper. Now here's another 43D. And again, it's a high quality strike, which is important. Look closely, make sure that there's no cuts through, and trying to determine if this one is full step or not. All right, if you guessed correctly, you would have said yes to full step, which this isn't as difficult, but you could see here there's one line in between, there's two lines, there's 3 lines, 4 lines, and 5 lines in between, which means this is technically a 6 full step coin. So, which isn't uncommon for the 43D. If anything, it's actually probably more common to have 6 full steps than not. It's just a super high quality strike for the War Nickel series. All right, this is a tough one. Here is a 44 Philly, which is mid to low quality strike. And try and determine if this is a full step or not full step. Now, what you could quickly see is there's some blotchiness on the 5th and 6th step, so that rules it out. There's also a slight hit mark here. So although you can pretty much see 1, 2, 3, and 4, which would qualify as 5 full step, the blotchiness means totally rules out the 6th step. And then there's this cut mark right here. This, in my opinion, would be a prime candidate for a flip. Because if I had to guess, the first time someone sent this in, that hit mark might have qualified it as not full step. But the reality is it actually got full steps. So this became a pretty valuable coin, about a $500 coin, because it got that full step designation. Without it, it was about a $75 to $80 coin. So that's all I got for this video. I'm going to put out a full series on grading Jefferson Nickel. So if you're interested, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, I'd really appreciate hitting that like button. That's all I got. Take care.